How are you feeling about this?
I'm
You
good.
ready?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, sure. Don't wake him up.
It's,
This is how it starts.
burp. Welcome to the Vivi Show.
So, 6 weeks ago, we had this little bundle of joy. No hospital, no epidural, bra. This is the version of it, and we're here to share a little bit more of how it went for us. So today, the VD show, we have a very special, well, two very special guests. My husband, Carlos, and then of course, baby boy, Theo.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
You this is how it goes. Let's first maybe start with like our expectations and maybe the intentions that we had and how it kind of all started, right? So we found out that we were pregnant. Like the initial thoughts was to go to a doctor. We found your cousins like recommended a few and we went. And I think that's where it all started, where we realized that we just really I personally did not like the experience that when we went as first-time parents, as people that we weren't really planning to have the baby. So everything was really new, and it just felt like
Like you were in a timeline in a sense, and then we had to do things and make a decision as soon as possible. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like we needed to figure things out, and we went to the doctors, and like it just felt cold. It felt transactional, and we really wanted the pregnancy, our baby coming, earthside in a way that felt beautiful and what it really was. And I think, after a few doctor's visits, that's when I kind of came up with the conversation about what if we went and had a home birth? Like, what would that look like? Like, what would that look like? Like, let's discuss it. Like, this is actually something that I knew I wanted from a very long time ago, but I just intuitively felt that. But I wanted us to make that decision together because, it's something that you and I have to figure that out. Like, I didn't want to go in and like saying, hey, this is what I want, and like, take it or leave it.
Right. No. I know. We did get there. I mean, as a dude, you're not really thinking about like, where's the birth gonna happen? Is it gonna happen at the house? Is it gonna happen at the hospital? You normally think that it's gonna happen at a hospital. But yeah, no, that's really, for me, it pushed me a lot too. When we were going to the hospital, to the doctor that we found, which, I mean, there wasn't nothing bad about them, but I guess like for I guess what I was looking for from the care provider was like, more information because like, we're just didn't know what we were gonna do. New parents or what was gonna go on. So.
And like we would ask questions, but they wouldn't, like they would be like, oh, we'll get to that. It's like everything's like, this is how we're supposed to do it. We'll figure out when the time comes. And I really didn't like that. Also, we had like a couple of times, like one time we had like a bit of a scare in the middle of the night, and we called them, and they're supposed to call you back. You leave a voice note. They're supposed to call you back. And they did, and he stayed on the phone literally 40 seconds with me. And he was just like, oh, that's part of it, normal, don't worry. If you go to the hospital, you're gonna be admitted for 6 hours. But other than that, you should be fine. And we were left in the middle of the night scared, like, is this kind of like how it's gonna be? I don't like that. I like personalized. I like someone that can come and tell me and walk me through things. And then like, after we went and discussed with a few doulas, we were like, okay, the doula is not the important part, which the doula is not, it is the important part, but the main focus is like the partera or the midwife. And we were recommended a few people, and when we went and we spoke to this one incredible human being, Dana, it was it. Like that was the person that we wanted to kind of journey with and made that decision together. What was the first time when you went and like discussed with her? What did he think, or like, did you know, or were you still hesitant?
Well, yeah, no. The first time we went, I was really hesitant because I think it's not even just about like because I was still within the whole idea that things needed to happen at the hospital, or that what if something happens? Like, why are we gonna do this at home? So like those fears to me started creeping up a lot because I didn't feel like I had an expert with me that I can like turn to. But little did I know we were just about to meet the best expert we could find. And like the first time we went, it was just like, what? I don't know. you would think you'd go to some like hippy dippy thing, and it's just a normal, kind of like a home, which is nice.
Hippie, baby, that's hippie. If
Okay,
you
so
like,
hippie home or whatever. Okay, I guess I mean.
yeah, it was like it used to be a birthing center, I
Yes,
believe, and
yes.
then she took over, and she doesn't have home births anymore, or
Births
there
at
anymore.
the center, yeah, yes.
So
But yeah, no, when we went, it's just like, it just felt like you just, instead of going to a doctor's office where everything feels cold, it's like white and the fluorescent lights, it's just like a homey experience. And so when we walked out, for me, I was able to take a reflective moment to like say, maybe this is a route that we should take.
And I think, like, to sum it up, the reasons why we did that, as we began to do more research, like what I intuitively felt, the research really backed it up for us. Like, we noticed that the hospital we were going had the highest cesarean rate in all of Florida, right? And that if it came to it, we're gonna do it. But we didn't want that to be. We wanted a respectful birth. We wanted a birth that let its natural progression, because it is something that was very natural. I was healthy. All the indicators were like everything was good and like how it should be. And then I think another aspect was just the hospital was just not the space that we felt like. There was just not nurses and the doctors. I think part of it was that, like, the doctor, we potentially could have one doctor, but the day of the birth, we would be on rotation.
Yeah.
So somebody else could come and be the person that delivered it. And I just didn't really want that. So now, after we made the decision, we had to kind of like break it into our family. Of course, your family has more of a medical background, so they were more resistant than my parents. But, we made the decision, we made the choice. And then now, really, I think for me, it came off like a very mental, it became mental, because I was just the only, like, the hurdles were, tell your family, and because it mattered what they thought, and it mattered, it just always does. And then two, like, for me was the fear, not the fear that something bad was going to happen, but of the pain. Like, I felt like I kept on telling you, like, I'm really afraid that I'm not going to be able to go through the pain. Like, I know most women do, but I don't know, I felt like I couldn't. And why are you laughing?
No, it's just funny that, like, how you just explaining that. That's all. It was just funny to me.
Oh,
because you did it now.
As we continued through the pregnancy, that was the mindset game. Like, and Dana, I think one of the things that stuck to me, or we read it somewhere, where it's like 80% mental and then like 20% physical. Like, if you're healthy and if everything's there, then birthing, the actual birthing, really becomes a very mindset, mental game. Not mental game, but.
Right, and I guess, like, because that's what you were, that was your intention. You wanted to have a natural birth.
Yeah.
You wanted to have limitations on intervention, from whether it was medical, whether it was a midwife, whatever it may be. And so that all kind of started to point out where we were able to remove some of the uncertainties and then focus on the real stuff, where, like, your fears, like, about the pain. Or for me, the fear was always in the back of my mind, like, what happens if we have to go to the hospital from the house?
Yeah.
But I think
Dana did a really good job. She was just like, also, if everything's going great and you want to go to the hospital, we can go to the hospital. Like, nothing is set in stone. You can have intentions. And that's, I think, one thing that we did really good, where I wasn't like, it has to be at home and it needs to be at home. I kept on saying, like, I love for it to be at home, but if we need to go, that's the priority. Like, safety is always, like, top of mind. Yeah, I think we can get into the story. So like, when the first contraction kind of happened, we were 38 weeks and
a couple of days. Like half, 38
and a half. And we were at my mom's place in Del Rey. We were sleeping. It was in the middle of the night. It was like Friday night towards the Saturday morning. And I, like, around 4 a.m., I wake up in this, like, weird pain, and I'm, like, in shock. But then I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll just go back to sleep. And then it happens again, and then I turn to you, I'm like, babe, I think I'm getting my first contraction, because it was not like the Braxton Hicks. This was literally, it was intense. I can't think, I can't do anything else but breathe and hold and grip your hand. And I think that Saturday morning, we texted the midwife, Dana, and she was just like, relax into it, like, you have a long road ahead of you. This could just be the beginning of, like, many contractions. You probably won't give birth until sometime in a few days and so I kind of like was very naive, and I was like, oh,
even,
anything Dana says,
right.
like.
And even me, when I was reading, it's like, oh yeah, she can get a serious contraction, and then it just stops, and then it starts again a couple of days later or a week later. So I was just like, well, we're gonna have to.
And then like I would get it like every maybe hour
or so,
like or hour, a couple of hours. So, but somehow we knew, I was like, we need to go back home. Like we typically go on Sundays. Saturday we were like, we need to go back home. I told my mom, and we were driving back. We finally, I got a couple of contractions on the way on the car on the I-95.
And then and on the when we went to the grocery store when we got here, we had to like stop at like the different sections, like at the bread aisle. We were just like.
Oh yeah, I remember. And there was like a lady offering us drinks.
Yeah.
And I was just like, no, lady, I don't want drinks, and you better not drink. So we wanted to get food, and then we came back here, and that's when
to like realize that we have to get the home prepared in case something's happening. So one of my biggest jobs of the birthing process was to get a little contraption that you put to our kitchen sink to connect to a hose that then goes into the birth pool. I had bought the stuff. I went to Home Depot, I got the stuff, and then when I got home, I was convinced that it was gonna work, and obviously, didn't work. I had to go to Home Depot that same day to figure out thank God the Home Depot guy that I got that day. I mean, he was a little like,
we got back from the store, and then something in me, I was like, you need to get that, like go and do that. And then he went and finally got it.
The guy was like, I don't know, he was looking for all the different ways that you can do it, but he figured it out. That's what I was kind of getting at.
He had like a contraption. There was like 5 different ways of
different like screws to get it. But we finally did it. We got it. Got home, and then we just started to kind of set up. I intuitively started to feel like there's something gonna happen. So maybe we should just start setting things up. So Vanya was taking a bath.
Yeah, Dana recommended. She was just like, have a wine. And
I was
get
so
a
excited.
bath. Me too. I was like, yes, I can have my favorite, a glass of wine. I had like maybe a glass and a half or 2. And like, and I was in the bathtub, and like she was like, get as much rest as you need. This is the time that you need to get like rest and whatnot. So while I was doing that,
I just went like bananas on the whole house. Like our living room ended up turning into birthing center in a sense. I had to move our carpet. I had to move the couch around. Our dining table, everything, because we were going to have, not only the midwife was going to be coming, she was going to come with another midwife to assist her and support her. So it's kind of like a midwife that's focused on her, and then the midwife is focused on, the other one is focused on the baby, plus our doula, which is, she's not a midwife, she's just more in the process of helping.
Like emotional support and like energetic, like she's the one that's there, like more, the other one's basically a doctor.
Yeah, basically like that.
Yeah.
So getting everything ready, making sure that everything's good. We go to bed that night, and that's when it really just starts
I think
to happen.
like at midnight, because we went to bed early. We never do. We went to bed early, and like around 12 or 1, I start to feel the contractions again. And this time, they're picking up, and they're often. And I'm like, I turn to him, I'm like, they're really intense now. Like, they're every 20 minutes or something. And like, the whole role is that he is supposed to take care of the timeline of the contractions. Except this guy was falling asleep like every so often with the contractions, and he's like, just hold my hand, let me know when and he's supposed to time it, but I don't know, you weren't really, you fell asleep.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna be real. I started falling asleep, but the only thing that was keeping me up and trying to track something was Vanessa holding my hand, and every time she would get one, it was like, grab my hand and almost break it sometimes.
Yeah, and I feel like the contractions, everybody can like maybe tell you what they're gonna be. The only way I can describe it is just they're intense.
Yeah.
Freaking intense.
Actually, I don't know. Never mind. I'm like, yeah.
yeah. Well, I just hold your hand, and it was. So we started getting, and they started picking up. I think it also started getting like 10 minutes. We would message the midwife, and she just was basically telling us like, you know what. Don't keep, like, let the contraction come in and out. Try to rest as much as you can. Just continue on with your day, with your night. Sleep as much as you can. And then I think like around 6 or 7 a.m. I couldn't sleep anymore. And she messaged, I was like, you need to handle the communication. Like, I cannot. You messaged Vicky.
The doula. Vicky, I messaged Dana, just trying to figure out like, what am I gonna do? What do we need to do? And it's just like, from every message I was getting, it's like this. My perceptive of like, nonchalant. Like, no, everything's gonna be okay. You just gotta wait a little bit. What else was like, oh, make a game plan today. Maybe you guys should go to the beach. I was like, all right, let's see how
Yeah.
Vanessa's gonna take me telling her, like, let's go to the beach.
Oh yeah, Dana was just like, go to the beach, like get your mind out, like you don't know when it's gonna happen. You probably have a little bit more to go. Like she made it almost seem like we were not gonna give birth that day.
Yeah,
Right? Like, I
right,
felt
right.
like we
That's
had-
what it felt like. That
I
was
had
like,
felt like we have a couple of days. I'm like, couple of days of this? Like what? I told Carlos, I'm like, there is no way that I'm gonna go to the beach
in Miami traffic.
in Miami traffic on a Sunday and see people partying and see people like in this weird mess. I'm like, no way. So I got ready, put my bathing suit on, and went to the pool. And I had watermelon, but then that's when like things I felt like started to
Escalate a little bit more.
because it was like around 9 a.m. We went out. By the time like we got ready and everything, and I threw up in the pool. Like not in the pool.
Yeah. Guys, you didn't throw in the pool. Sorry.
Yeah.
Leasing office, please don't. Yeah, right.
Around
the pool, it happened.
But I couldn't keep any. Like the contractions were so intense that I couldn't keep anything down. And there was like people were there. We finally walked out. We came back here, and I think that by the time that I got back here, I was out of it.
Yeah, that's when we.
I was out of
I
it.
even knew too. Like this is not gonna be like a couple of days. This is either today or tomorrow, and so that's when I started just more frantically texting Dana like, "Hey, it's getting to like 7 to 8 minutes," and she's like, "Not yet."
And that's when I kind of was in and out.
Yeah.
I was really intense, and that's when I started telling you like, hey, like help me with this pain. Like at that time, the timelines are all so blurry for me around that then, but it was really intense, and I needed to hold you all like I needed you to be there and help me get through it. And kind of like what I knew, I did expect for me to tell you that I wanted to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like I knew, because they also tell us that that's what's most likely going to happen. But at that time, I was just telling him, I'm like, help me with this pain. And I think I saw it in your eyes at one point around that time where you were like, I felt like helpless.
Yeah, like no. It's so I mean I guess like we're running through the timeline, but like just to kind of give perspective, like contractions starting like consistently around like 4 o'clock in the morning. So like there's really not going to bed now. And when the pool, that's around like 8:39. We come back, we're still doing this, and like maybe going out to the
You
terrace
give me food
and hearing
and I'm throwing it all
everything. We're fast forwarding it up to like 1, 2 o'clock, and it's just the same thing, and I'm in the same time texting both the doula and the midwife saying, hey, like I'm counting it, it's getting close to 5 minutes, and every single time was just like, not yet. So like really like around like, I guess like 3:30 that I'm just like, there's no one here. I'm by myself.
We're by ourselves, yeah. Yeah. Like
She's now starting to say a lot more like, please help me. I need to go to the hospital. I did not want to make the executive decision that ruins it for the rest of our lives. So I was like, let's wait for the midwife. Let's give it about an hour or an hour and a half before she can like decide and tell us if she's coming or not. No,
Yeah.
She was coming by that time.
Yeah, and you tried, because we knew that there were different positions and massages, and you tried to like help
Everything.
me like with the pain in the back, and it was so intense. I was like, please do not touch me when I'm getting the contraction. Like it was so much, and like I felt a lot of the pain in my lower back, and like when you tried, it just felt like needles and burning when you tried touching me. So I was just like, no way. By that time, I laid down because I was like, this is so intense. And I laid down and I'm like, where are they? Because I was also sensing you starting to get weird. And like, it's normal. Like new parents, first time doing this. We have no idea. We're like, when is this? Like, I felt it super intense.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hello, sir.
Then finally, like around 4 p.m., right?
Right.
Around 4 p.m.
4:30, that's when they're finally here. All of them show up at the same time. It was just funny. So they come with their little rolly things with just the tub,
Suitcases,
like suitcases with all the medical materials that they need. There's a gas tank, there's an oxygen tank just in case. Had everything.
I was just laying down, and the only thing I feel was Vicky and starting massaging my legs and feet, and I'm like, oh my god. And like we energetically felt supported.
Yeah.
I mean, we felt they were here.
Yeah.
Everything just shifted when they arrived, and I think Dana came and checked me, right?
Yeah.
That was one of the things that she did. I was so like she told you I was about 6 to 7 centimeters. dilated. You didn't tell me. I wasn't. So we just continue, and I think like we were continuing, and Vicky massaged me, help in those massages that she gave me, my legs, my feet, and like even though it was so painful during the contraction, after the contraction, she helped with the massages, with soothing me with warm water, and you were always there too. Like I was like, I need you to be here. Where are you? Although there was like one time that I'm like, I feel like you need to go and go have your smoothie, because you didn't eat anything.
I hadn't eaten. I was running on fumes since like Saturday night. This is where like you start you're not grateful for what's going on because you're in a state of like franticness, but this is kind of like how the expert comes in. She like comes to the side. She's like, I'm not going to tell this to Vanessa because it's not really going to help her. It's not going to do anything for her. Maybe it might actually cause her to like, get a little bit of a mental block. But she's 6 to 7 centimeters dilated. This baby's going to be born by midnight. Like, I guarantee you that. Like, in the workspaces that I work, we don't guarantee things. And this lady said, you know what? This is what's going to happen. We fast forward. Well, I don't want to fast forward because we're just like, going through the motions, going through the process. And in that time, like, because we're still like, dealing with a home birth for the first time, we really don't know what to expect. I'm expecting, the midwife is going to be grabbing her legs and like, making sure like
a doctor.
Yeah, like a doctor, and just checking this. And no, like the midwife and her assistant were like chilling in our terrace for like an hour or so, and I'm like freaking out, thinking like, what's gonna happen? Like, why did I bring these people here?
Yeah, and especially because I was in so much pain.
Right. Yeah. I was just getting like, we were both getting stressed about like not being able to have like resolution for you.
Yeah. So, and they were like outside, because I mean, and later on is when we realized, we can look back and we're like, okay, this is exactly why. But by the time you were like frustrated, I noticed that a few times when I was like out of the contraction, you were like looking at them like so stressed out. And then finally, it's like around 5-ish or 6, and I'm like, I feel the need to push. Like, I think at this point I'm like, I feel a need to push, and I'm blocked too. Like,
don't talk too much about that part.
Yeah, so at that time, like, I think that's when I was like, when are we gonna set up the pool? Like, the pool wasn't here.
No,
like it wasn't yet. So they began to set it up.
We had to inflate it. Oh, another little part is that we didn't have the pump. So like we had I had to use the opposite side of our vacuum to make it, and then we start connecting the water hose to it, filling it up, but it's obviously makeshift, so it's not the same water flow that you would get with a normal hose.
So finally they blow it up, and I get in, and like I feel this big relief because this water is so good, and hi baby. So we were relieved, but then Carlos just like, I noticed him being distracted, and I'm like, what's going on? And he's just like, what is this noise? And I'm like, babe, I don't care what this noise is. Just like, be with me. But of course, in Lowe's and Vane fashion,
I just couldn't stop with the noise because it sounded like a hiss. And I'm like, what is this noise? I'm running around. I'm asking the midwife. I'm asking the doula, like, where's that noise coming from? Did someone leave like the faucet open? And like, I'm closer to the tub, and it's the tub that's about to explode in some ways. So I find
like, it has a hole.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Yeah, it has a hole. Yeah, it's not gonna explode. Yeah, it has a hole, and now you're like frantically everyone. And at the time, like, I feel, because everyone is also frantic, like frantic.
Even the midwife was like, listen, we got to get her out now because I've seen this stuff. It can blow up. She can like be sliding all over, and you don't want to see the amount of water that's gonna be in your house with this stuff. So I obviously start freaking out because I'm like, I try to clean this place so that we wouldn't have these types of issues. And so we put electrical tape on it. We put so many different things, and the sound wasn't going to go away. So by that time, we were just
and it's like looking like a little, and everyone's just like, let's get her out. Yeah. So they get me out, they fix the thing. I thought I wanted, like, ideally, I guess, romanticizing giving birth in the tub. And I was like,
I guess because you think like everything, whether the documentaries that we watched or anything like that we saw, like everyone having a home birth, they're in a tub. So we were like, oh, well, that stereotypical thing is out of the question now.
Yeah, and so we were actually here, and I'm like, that's when I feel like a shift. I don't know if this is what they call the transition, like and like I start pushing, and then like feeling this, like, I don't know how to even explain.
It's like physically you could see it. I mean, for the guys that have seen their women through this, like, it's just physical. Like, they just get into this space of just
and they like pushing. Screech or something. Yeah, but then I could, like, nothing was happening, and I started looking at the clock, and it's like around 7, and I'm like frustrated. And I remember I turned to the left, and both Naomi and Dana were there, the midwives, and I'm like, I need help. Like, what should I do? Like, they were letting me do my process. They weren't like, oh, they checked. Oh, we kind of skipped, but during the tub, I felt like I was like, can Dana please check me? And I think she checked me, and that's when
she told you that you were like
9 centimeters,
something like
that, around 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Maybe like 8 something or 9, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was like
we
you've
gone
gone
around,
substantial up.
Yeah, like 8 or 9. So, and like I got out of the tub and I'm here, and I was like, what can I do? Please help me. And they're like, you need gravity. I think you need gravity. You're like, you're there, but you're sitting down. The energy's not going down. Like, you know, do something. Like, you need gravity to help you bring the energy down. So I get up and I start walking around. I was gonna go outside, but it started to rain, and we were gonna do like these squat things outside. And I just started walking around when I'm like, the only thing I feel when the contraction comes is to squat. So I'm like in my kitchen counter squatting, and I squat.
Not the counter, in the kitchen, because
like,
the kitchen counter.
Well, I'm had the counter, and my hands are on the counter as I'm squatting, like, and that's when I feel like things start to pick up in a way. But I start getting, like, I'm feeling this frustration that I'm like, I thought the pushing was supposed to be faster.
Right.
Like, and I'm like, I need water, because the pain was so intense. I think at that time I was really exhausted, and I'm like, I need to lay down. I need to sit down, and like, so I laid down. Vicky massaged me. You started getting the bath ready, like the bathtub.
Yeah, so that way we can use that.
Yeah, so he got it ready, and then I went to the bathtub, and I really wanted water. Like, water was like really supportive.
Right.
It was like really amazing. So I wanted the water, and I pushed and pushed in all directions in fours. I was also in fours here at one point. Like, it did not work. Like, it was just, those positions did not help really. And it felt weird actually being in fours. Like, I remember a lot of people say like being in your all fours helped, but it just felt awkward for me. I'm like, I don't think baby's gonna come out in this way. So then we're in the bathtub, and I'm like, okay, fine, this is not gonna work here. Like, the baby for sure is not gonna be born in the water. And I think at that, we haven't even told our parents yet.
Oh yeah.
So maybe you want to go into that.
Yeah. No. So at that time, like, as throughout the day, I was kind of keeping track of where we were at with Dana, and I was like, I don't know if we're supposed to be telling our parents like straight away, especially mine. They'd get like super like they would have showed up within an hour here. Your mom already knew, because if you guys don't talk for more than 2 seconds, like, she already knows something's up. So her mom kind of just just kind of pulled away and like let us be. And so around like 8:39, things start to progress a little bit more, and then that's when like I make the decision to finally tell our parents to like, hey, look, I think it's time. Your dad didn't even know we were having a home birth, so he's like, we're at the hospital. But yeah, so then that's when we're like, listen, we just want you guys to know we're in the process. We didn't tell them what part of the process we were. We just said we're in the process. Just pray for us, send the good vibes. That's all we want. And so it's like, like 9:30, 10. Yeah. That like you're starting to get exhausted. Like, you can see it in you. Like, you're even asking, can I lay down? But then like kind of get this like impulse to do things. So from like 10 until the baby's born, or like 11 something, we're in the bathroom.
Yeah, and like in the bathroom, normally we had all the lights off and everything, and somehow for some reason right then I was like, do not turn the light off. And I got out of the bathtub, and then the first thing I felt with that contraction, and I was with Vicky first, I squat down and I push. And in that push, I knew that it was like the time was coming. Like, I was just like, this like intense amount of like weird energy came on me, where I was like, I need the baby out. Because also the other option is to just let him come out. Yeah. Either you push or you let him come out. And I'm like, I am not staying in this position anymore. You come into the bathroom.
Yeah, because I was in the kitchen at that time thinking to myself like, oh my God, it's like 10.
This girl's not gonna happen.
This is not gonna happen. I had my best friend one time told me about the story about his wife, and he's like, yeah, there was a point where I was like, this girl's not gonna make it. And I was like, I cannot get into that mindset either. I walked back, and then sure and behold, it's like, we're in active labor, like, let's get this done. And she's like, I wanna push. I'm like, sure. And so now we get into this whole squat
like,
position.
So you're like, listen, no, just another way. So he's standing up, and I'm holding him, and then I squat down as I'm holding him, and like I do a lot of pushes, and I ask how many more pushes, and like everyone's like, we don't really know, like. And I think there was a point where like I pushed and I think this is what they call the ring of fire, because that's exactly what it felt like, the ring of fire. It was just like this intense fire, like there. And I'm like, the baby is gonna come out, and I see Vicky like squatting down. She's like, yeah, he's crowning. So she like gently goes like, and this is all in like the most like
super quiet. She just like walked out of the bathroom, and I'm like there like, okay, just whatever. And I can then start hearing she's telling Dana like, yeah, it's time. You can hear footsteps coming. Vicky comes in, and you can still hear footsteps coming, like, and you hear like gloves being put on, like, and then I turn over, and it's like Dana just coming in this like slow-mo. I mean, at least to me it looks like slow-mo. I'm sure that she probably was working in the way that she needs to, and I'm looking at this like slow motion thing, and she's just inspecting her, like looking at it, and she's like, yep, it's time. She
like puts the gloves on, they set up everything, and then like, you know, I start pushing, and she's like, yeah, and I feel like I need to get up, like I can't stay squatted because I'm in a deep squat, right. And I was like, can I get up? They're like, yeah, get up, but make sure that, you know, you're not closing like the back so that the baby doesn't come back up.
Right.
And I get up a little bit, and I squat, and like I feel like 2 or 3 squats, and then that's when like the final squat, like I grab onto you, and like baby comes out, like, and you know, Dana grabs the baby.
Like we're making it seem like it just like popped out. And
but it did. Like I remember that when I looked down, like baby comes out, like. And the funniest part is this. So Carlos is like, I'm on, like grabbing onto him, and the baby comes out, and then splash of water, like his whole feet get wet, and I can see in his face because I looked up, and he's like in this emotional, beautiful space, and then at the same time disgusted. His baby was like, oh my god. Dana grabs the baby, puts the baby on me, and I'm sitting down in the bathroom, and I think that's the moment, like, I don't know, I get emotional when I
that was a really great moment. That was a good moment. That's when it happened. Baby got here.
Well, I'm gonna cry. Yeah, every time I think about that part, when I just, like, the first time you see your baby, and then he's on you, and we were both just like there, and then you start calling everyone, and and he's, when I started calling everyone. I'm there, like, finally, like the midwife, everyone checks on me. They were like, okay, well, they don't check on me there. They're like, everyone's around us. Mm-hmm. And finally, the placenta is still in me. And they were like, okay, well, I think it's time, you know, whenever you start feeling like cramps, that's when it's time to take out the placenta. So finally feel them, and they're like, do you want to pull it out? Or I'm like, nah, just like take the shit out of me. Like, I just like, because it was uncomfortable. I wanted to be with the baby. You know, they pull it out, and then I come here in the sofa, because everything happened a lot in this living room. So in the sofa, they check me, they check the baby. Everything's honestly great. Like, also I think I would say a miracle, I didn't tear. Like, I think
everything.
When I looked into tearing, like, I didn't really think about it much, because it was kind of like stretch marks or like growing. I was just like, this could happen, like there is no way of really preventing it. Like, you read a lot of things of what you could do, what you can, but I really didn't, you know. So I was just like, I didn't tear, so that was really good.
Wants to tell his story.
Yeah, that was at the time that you came out, and you were beautiful and crying, and they were like checking on you. You held him while and at the time, like, they took me to the bathroom. I was showering. We were like, everything was kind of coming into its place.
Yeah, these ladies took care of us in that moment.
Yeah.
But first cleaning up Theo, then cleaning up Bane, then we're dealing with the placenta stuff.
Like, I guess when the baby came out, like, well, what did you think? Like, when we were there, like, in that moment?
I think that too, I mean, for me, I don't know if it's like, it's just like a surreal moment. You're just like in this like state of like, there's a human, plus there's like all of these things around. But at the same time, it's like this like immediate connection point that I see between the baby and Vanya, which is beautiful, and then also between us, where we're like, having a moment as a first-time family, which was really, really beautiful. And then I guess like for me in that moment, like the world just kind of stopped for a second. It was like the first time really in my life that I ever felt like that like these 5 minutes of the baby being here and you there, that's it. The world can end right now and everything's great. After that, I started rushing to call everyone because I'm super excited that like the baby's here and like, and yeah. So then they start cleaning you up.
Yeah, and we shower, they come and like they walk us through everything. Like Dana talks us like what's gonna happen postpartum, like the baby had to take care of him. And I feel like we trusted so much Dana that we did come and ask her a few things, especially when we were doing our checkups with her, because we were doing regular checkups, and then she came one time to the house to check
kind of
out,
scope the whole place so
like
that we
where
know
to
what
park,
we're doing.
everything, and I feel like we just trusted her so much. We didn't really ask more of the after. I think I was so concerned about like the birthing and what was going to happen that the after really wasn't really part of the discussion as much. And that day they set up our bedroom, and we lay down and go to sleep. And they're like literally, well, I hope you guys have a good night.
Good night, take care, bye. This you make it seem like because we're rushing through, but
no, I mean they left at 3 a.m.
Yeah, that's true.
So it was like
no. I'm saying we're making it seem like, oh, baby was born, they cleaned them up, and then that's it, put us in bed. No, this is like a whole
baby
process.
was born like at 11ish,
Yeah.
and then they left at 3 a.m. after they organized, cleaned, they washed our towels, like they did everything.
Yeah.
I was just so in shock about that.
Yeah.
And the baby slept like this. Dana put him like this, and we slept like that for
the first night.
The first night until he slept longer that night, and woke up the next day. And I feel like this is where, in my mind, there's no doubt that we wanted that this is how it was supposed to be. Yeah. We had a couple of also scares that the baby wasn't kicking, so we went to a hospital, and it was a different hospital this time, and like it was great. The nurses, everyone was really great. But I kept on looking at him. I'm like, I definitely don't want to have birth here.
And even me, I kept thinking to myself, like, I'm going to have to sleep somewhere around here. This is terrible, man.
Yeah. And like, it kind of worked out for us. And I guess this is where I can say, for me personally.
For us.
Yeah, for us. Like, and also like how I like things too, right? Like, I like very personalized, bespoke, one-on-one type of care. Like I like as much as I would like anything different, and we didn't feel that way with our doctor that we had, right? And like now that we did all these prenatal courses and I'm talking with a lot of people, and now that we did that, I feel like there's a lot of doctors that were recommended and things like that, but it was just worked for us. I like that we messaged Dana throughout the entire pregnancy when we had questions in the middle of the night at 4 a.m. Like
Even though she told us like, please just do it in the day, that's fine. But no, but I'm just messing. No,
I was like, my goodness.
No. But she was super responsive. Vicky on that day was amazing. Just like looking back at the things of the day of my like having frustration with others or whatever, it's just because of the unknowns, because of the fears that were going on. But now that I'm looking back at it, there's really nothing that any of them could have done in those moments that we were in freaking out. We just kind of had to go through the motions. It's like...
Yeah, and I think that's what we wanted in the beginning. We didn't want to have intervention. We didn't want any of that. And that's what Dana and Naomi did. Like, they gave us the whole space. Like, they came and checked the baby. The heart rate was good. I was good. Everything was good. So she let me do my own thing up until I asked her, was when she gave advice. When she was like, what did you need? And it worked for me, right? Like, it worked for us in the way that we needed that. And I think, like, the last thing that I would say personally for me, like, as I mentioned, this was a very big mindset game. And like, I have a lot of friends that actually had at-home births, and it worked out really great. And I think that was part of it. So that I had a lot of people that I knew that had home births that worked out. I had a lot of people that did hospital too as well. But I always saw these women that had home births as like these incredible magical goddesses that were like above. And I was really afraid that I wasn't going to be able to do that. And then, that's, I think, what I kind of prove to myself that I was able to go through it in the way that I wanted to, and like I wasn't as scared. And I think Dana really reflects this on me and constantly says that. She's like, you had like a level of fierceness during your birth that is like how you should lead your life. And I think it's like motherhood and pregnancy and all of that reminded me of like ultimately like the biggest growth that I can do is really live in that fierceness and authority that
Fearlessness.
Fearlessness, not fierceness, like being
Oh,
fierce.
fierce. Oh, sorry, I didn't hear fierce.
And like I think that's what it reminded me of, like the power that I have, the power that like being all women have. And I think that's the thing, like any birth, the way that you choose it or the way that it ends up being, because we can have the intentions and the plans, but they may come out different. And that's when we came in. We were like, okay, this is what we want, the intentions, but no matter what, we want baby to be healthy, and we wanted me to be healthy. And that's really it. And
That's how it happened.
yeah, that's our story.
It's like in hindsight, you see a lot. You see everything 2020, but there's nothing that I would change about it now. Like looking back at it too, just everything about it is what has now been the consequence that now is, and by word consequences that I don't mean in a negative way. It's like the conclusion that now starts our family. It's like this weird this moment that then starts our family. That was just really beautiful.
Being able to share a positive birth story for me is what I wanted out of the most, because a lot of the times we hear from, our
family members,
like our generation, like, oh my God, I went through this and that, and like it's such like a negative
connotation,
connotation or narrative
or idea,
that there is about giving birth. And I think this is an opportunity to say birth can be beautiful, can be done naturally if you choose so, and like no matter what you choose, it's beautiful. It's how it has to happen.
And I think that maybe the last part that I would say is, it's like your choice is stick with it. Like trust in your choice as a new parent, as an individual, as a new mom. Trust in that choice, whether it's at home or whether it's at the hospital, and that choice is the choice that you should be making.
Yeah. Okay, well, here's our little story.
See you later.
Alligator.